Can you make me co-host so I can kick out
Yeah.
note takers?
Hey, folks. Hello, everybody.
Mute yourselves, please.
Hello, everyone.
What up? What up? What up, gang? All right, let's get the heat. We got the French here.
The Belgian, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, the French speaking.
We're just
people
gonna
here.
leave directly.
Yeah. Wait, so you guys, you guys Belgian? Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
indeed.
If
We
I was
cannot
gonna
hide the
say
French
Belgian.
accent, though.
Yeah. Well, you guys have the best chocolate, so.
Exactly. We got the
Indeed.
French accent and the best chocolate.
Wait, you got the lottery. You've got the lottery. You have got the lottery. Well, everybody, the top of the screen is the better haircuts. The bottom of the screen is the crappier haircuts. If you're seeing what I'm seeing as well. But what I would appreciate for all of you to do is, Jesus Christ, we do this every single time. Pop into the, there we go. We already got it. Harrison knows what to do. Drop in where you're from in the comment section. Buzz it up. Give the heat. Give the energy. We want to know where you're calling in from. We've got two. Are you guys from Belgium right now? Where are you guys based, Alex and Michel?
Barcelona, actually.
Oh,
We
there
left
you go.
Belgium a while ago.
Okay, so we've got Spain, we've got Bangalore, India, we've got Sydney, Australia, and all right. Oh boy. Okay, the energy's on. Energy is on. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. 1 second. Love it. All right, we've got some from Kolkata. We've got, oh, I know that face. Hello, Alka. Head of content. We got South Carolina, Buenos Aires. No, I fucked that up. So I'm just gonna say Argentina. Costa Rica, London. Love it. Where are my Sydney siders? No one? All right. Oh, you're muted, Swapnil. 5 push-ups.
We got someone from Pune as well. Yeah, 5 push-ups on me. Yep.
Nice. All right. You will start a smart lead campaign 2 weeks for customer. Awesome, Antonio. Let me know how you go. All right, we're gonna wait for another 2-3 minutes, and then we'll kick off. We will kick off. How's Spain,
Well-
guys? Getting to any football matches?
We didn't go, no. There was like it was Champions League week, but we are too busy now, you know. I actually moved to Barcelona to go and see the football games, but now we don't have
The only
time
thing we
to
do is like
compare.
working on smart lead campaign. So, how do you think we've been doing in Spain so far?
Big dog moves. Too busy to go for whatever. Oh, but fair enough. I mean, who's an iconic player left now playing in Barca or Madrid that I would remember? My age will show up very quickly right now.
It's a good question. Actually, like
I
now it's just the young guns, you know. There used to be
Yeah.
a nice
Not even following
rivalry,
much
but
anymore.
yeah, you need to ask the chat. This one, Alex, and I won't be able to help as well.
Yeah, Modric. I did get to see Modric play. I went for the World Cup. I did get to see Modric play. That was nice.
Vaibhav, how long have you been living in Sydney?
12 years.
12 years. I visited
Yes,
this
sir.
this winter, also the summer.
Oh, did you?
I forgot you were living there. I would have.
Oh, my guy. All right. Okay.
yeah.
Whereabouts did you stay?
I was
Okay.
Sydney?
Come inside, na?
Sandeep, bhaiya.
D7. D705.
Can you mute Sandeep?
703.
ordering food apparently.
Yeah. Swapnil, you'll need to make me host A, please, if you can, and then maybe I can help you out with this dynamic.
Moment, Vaibhav, I'm doing that right now. 1 minute.
Cool. Thank you. Man's ordering food. Priorities. All right, everybody. We're 6 minutes in. We'll get through with this. The floor is Swapnil. Swapnil's gonna lead. I'm just here to help, and yep, let's go for it.
Awesome. Folks, welcome to another kick-ass session on office hours. As you would know, I'm that little name that reminds you on Slack that we have another office hours session today. And we've got Alex Vacca and Michel Lieben with us from ColdIQ. I'm going to give the stage and the mic to them to quickly introduce themselves before we go into the session. Mic's all yours, folks.
Alex, I will let you the honor of introducing yourself.
Cool. Then, yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Smartly team, for having us. Alex from Belgium. So Mish and I have been knowing each other for 8 years, I think. And I actually joined the business of Mish, I think 3 months after he started it. So around like April 2023. Started as a website. We wanted to compile like all the best sales software on the market, and organically ended up creating an agency because some people started reaching out to Mish for some tool implementation services and outbound services. And so that's how ColdIQ, the agency, came to be. And now 25 clients strong and growing every month. So I don't know, Mish is probably like a bigger backstory to explain how ColdIQ came to be.
I mean, I don't have that big of a backstory. I think like it was a very great summary, but essentially the core of business is delivering services for clients. But then the other dimension is we try to be, the best at recommending tools. Both of these motions are linked in the fact that we use these tools to deliver results for clients. Because they deliver results for clients, we can safely say when we recommend these tools that they will be tools that will help you generate revenue. And so we are trying to develop both of these motions at the same time, which has its set of challenges. But so far I think we've been doing a decent job. So I hope we'll be able to improve on that.
Awesome. So for all those who don't know, like they're selling themselves short, but they're the masters at it when it comes to the tech stacks that you need to know for setting up outbound growth. They're literally the pioneers when it comes to understanding what works and what doesn't, because they've done it themselves for multiple clients at scale. So that's that. But before we dive into the session and start asking the grilling questions to you folks, can everybody who's there on the call let us know in the chat how many of you are agencies and how many of you are startups? Could you just like quickly pop it up in the chat right now? Awesome.
Oh, it's full of agencies. It's all the competition here, actually.
They're all gonna steal your shit, man.
Yeah.
Tell them lies. Tell everyone lies. I'm joking. Awesome. Both. Love it. That's awesome. That's fabulous.
So we've got a mix of both. That's nice. Great. So now that we know that majority of the audience that has joined us is like preferably on like a 50-50 scale here, which is agencies and startups, right? Could you just tell us a little about what are some of the tech stacks that people should be going after when they're setting up their outbound systems? And I'll tell you the perspective of where I'm trying to approach this from, right? Let's consider 3 scenarios. This has to be actionable in a sense where any user on this call right now, after leaving this call, can take an immediate action of going after and setting up these tools for their businesses, right? So let's take scenario 1. I'm at an entry level to cold email marketing. Right. What would my tech stack look like in that scenario?
You want to take it, Mish? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the question I would guess would be trying to build a sales stack at a low budget, because I guess this is one of the main objections we get whenever we are sharing tools. People are saying, hey guys, but how much does that cost? And it's true that when you do any kind of outbound at scale, it ends up costing a lot. So when you're an agency, it's your whole business, which means it makes sense to go and invest in these tools. That said, you would be able to get some very similar results and would be able to do some advanced personalization, AI research, and so on with a very low and a very cost affordable sales stack. So say you want to get to 200 per month or less with the tools, the first thing I would do is I would pick a data source. And I guess that you have the choice. I mean, either you can use the LinkedIn Sales Nav or you can use Apollo. The way I see it is Apollo is just way easier to extract large quantity of data from. And you can get started, I guess, around 49 per month. And they even have a free plan that lets you, search Apollo directly. So this will be the first thing. Once you have the data, you can filter leads based on their job titles, based on the location, company size, like most of the basic firmographics. And then what you would want to do is you would want to take these leads and then leverage these leads to send them into some automated campaign and some sequencing software. And so in this case, if you want to do some email, I would recommend you go with Smart Leads. I think the entry level plan is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I guess it's 39 per month, and you can reach out to up to 6,000 contacts with this, which is way more than enough when you're getting started. If you want to do some LinkedIn outreach, then I would recommend a tool like HeyReach, which lets you scale the number of accounts you use in a very affordable way. But then in between, there is this only issue that is, if you want to personalize your approach or make some deeper qualification than the filters you use, you would need to use a tool like Clay. The issue with Clay is that Clay is pricey. I think Clay starts at 149 per month. And so the workaround is, if you can extract all the data into some Google Sheets, you can use some free extensions. So Cargo has a free extension, and this free extension lets you connect your OpenAI key, which means that you can, inside of a Google Sheet, search all of your leads and then create some personalized lines or just like qualify your leads with AI at scale, and it won't cost you anything. And so it will act like Clay. It will be like a bit messier to set up. And if you have the choice, I would recommend you go for Clay. But since we are in this entry-level starter pack, I think this is the best way to keep your monthly expenses below 200 per month while having access to all the advanced capabilities of AI personalization, AI research, and so on.
And that's what I think we would recommend, but looking at the market appetite, like most people we get on calls, usually if they want to learn how to do outbound in 2024, usually they're interested in learning the combo Clay and Smart Lead. Like we have a lot of people that are like early stage startup that might not be interested for the done for you services that we do at the agency. But typically people figure out that like Clay and Smart Lead is like a good stack to get started with outbound.
Got it. And that's fair, right? Like, because when you're just starting out as a business, especially as a startup, the core criteria for you, right, if you're trying to reach PMF or, if you're trying to like set the market, you'd want to limit your spends. But let's flip this scenario a little, right? Let's say you're in the market, you've been established for quite some time, and you have slightly higher budget. Let's say you're now a person who's matured into the cold email game. How does that tech stack evolve? Because I know most of the tools remain the same, right? But I believe it's more around now exploring around automations and setting up workflows which ease up your life when it comes to prospecting and that last touch of closing deals with users, right? So my question to you would then be like, let's move on to this particular use. What would that tech stack look like?
I think there's two tools I would like add that come to mind. First one is Cargo. I don't know if people have already heard about it. It's like a YC startup. I think there's still less than 10 people, but it's two ex-employees from Spendesk, which is like a French unicorn, and they pretty much build the RevOps department inside of Spendesk. And so with Cargo, what they want to do is that they want to let every single company being able to build RevOps automated workflows. And so usually a nice way to describe it is kind of like Clay, but for more like a bit later stage companies, because the big advantage of Clay is that with one subscription, you get access to all those data sources and tools without having to have your own API key. So you can just spend your Clay credits. So it's very accessible for people. It's like you just buy a Clay subscription and you can use pretty much everything. With Cargo, it's a bit more complex because you can build much more complex workflows, but it requires you to have your own API key for each data source and each tool. And I think the type of workflow you can build are like, very impressive. There's like one that the team was like sharing with me. What they built is that whenever there is interested leads, they created a workflow that's directly take the leads and generate 10 lookalikes to add to a sequence. It's kind of like an infinite machine where like whenever you generate positive lead, it's almost that the system is learning on its own and try to just like multiply this by generating like 10 lookalike leads from the one that's actually converting. So that's the type of workflows they can set up in a fully automated way. And that's just running in the background. So
Got it. Now let's take your use case in place, right? You folks have like a fair bit of a client base. You're handling a significant volume of clients, right? For this, and this is again, I'm approaching this from the perspective of all our users on the call who are now agencies, especially majority of them being startups as well as marketing agencies, both, right? What kind of a tech stack would you be looking at? And you can approach this with the appetite to pay, right? But if you could delve a little deeper into what are some of the tools that you are currently using in your tech stack and why they make sense for you. So try to approach this from the process of prospecting leads, setting up email sequences, and then closing leads at the end of it with, like, let's say a successful call or a deal closed.
I think we're going to be in a bit of a different situation because we get so many pitch and demos from a lot of software, because I think with the websites, like a lot of companies are interested in like partnering with us. So I think we get access to a lot of tools. Some of them are like very expensive, and I don't think it would actually make sense for like small companies. But for like a small agency, I would say unmissable is Clay and Smart Leads. And then for data source, I would look into Apollo. I think Ocean is really great to generate lookalikes. That's something that we use a lot for ourselves. Once we have like a successful campaign, just like being able to generate lookalike lists. We really try to run a lot of trigger-based outreach sequences. So for that, I would use Trigify. That's a bit the new kid on the block, but Max and his team are doing like a really great job. So to have like those automated workflows, I think that Trigify is amazing. You can really sync it with Clay and having those workflows that run automatically. If you want to go a bit more technical, I think it would also be worth looking into Apify if you want to do some like custom scraping, also like doing some trigger-based approach. But I think it requires a little bit more technical knowledge because you might do some integration with Make. And then I think at a certain stage also makes sense to have like a good CRM in place. So there I would probably look into either HubSpot, because HubSpot is like the dinosaur, but it's just so good with all the integrations. I think typically when a SaaS is doing an integration, HubSpot is typically the first one. So it's also very practical to integrate all the different software together. And otherwise, I think Atio is also amazing for CRM. So yeah, I would say that's like the basic tool stack. Like once the agency is starting to grow, I would add Ocean, maybe some like some technicalities with Apify, and then having like a good CRM in place.
And then I would just add one. I think if you want to use inbound with outbound within your workflows, you can leverage RB2B, which identifies your visitor at the person level. And so it's very useful if you have some very specific, use case pages. I think something I see a lot is some websites, some agencies, they will have a landing page for each use case, for marketers, for brands, for salespeople. And so based on the page that people were on, you can identify the person that was on each page, and then use this data and automatically reach out to them. And so this makes for some cool workflows. And also it has a very wowing effect with clients, because as soon as you install the app with them, they get notifications on who visits their website. And when they get this data, they usually get surprised. They didn't expect the kind of people visiting their website. And at the same time, it's great because usually someone who was already visiting your website has some level of intent, which means that your campaign will convert at a higher rate than those pure cold campaigns.
100%. I'm a victim of this. I've been to many sites and I just get connected by their SDR on LinkedIn automatically. So they've clearly got some automation set up from Expandio or whatever automation tools out there to push it out. So, and like you said, it's scary, but because I get it, it makes sense. I think it's very relevant, and that's good value. So one thing I've seen that people do is like do the connection like a few hours later, so it doesn't. Can we mute everyone, please? I'm just gonna mute. All right. So sorry, I've lost my train of thought, but Swapna, has the spotlight gone?
No, you're still
Okay,
on.
never mind. Okay, cool. Never mind. But so the question I had for you guys, Michelle and Alex, you guys you shared a crap ton of tools, which is fabulous. So thank you. I think people have been literally hammering the chat support, not chat support, the chat, trying to understand where these tools are coming from, and you put them all on your website. So for everyone looking, coldiq.com/tools, everything's listed over there. I want to jump more into your agency, right? Maybe we can drive a bit more about your onboarding experience and how you onboard customers. And second, I want to sort of maybe jump a bit further into where you see social selling in your acquisition model for your agency. 25 clients in 1 year is not a small feat. And you guys have scaled quite aggressively. We've seen that on your LinkedIn. I can see you do a bunch of interesting stuff with the team members as well, in the way you get them to position themselves. It's absolutely crucial that the market here listens to what you're saying, because everyone just thinks send cold emails is good, but the amount of back work someone does when they want to verify, I generally think is why you guys are winning, because you're just all over LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes a huge difference when your brand is known. I think it's a very different experience, selling for a huge brand name versus selling for a very unknown startup. I think if you reach out cold, you need to assume that, people will think you're a scammer, or, just some person trying to rip them off, get some money from them. It's like there's basically no trust involved. And this is what I like about content. It makes a great job of making you trustworthy. If someone sees Vibe or Michel or Alex and then they search our names, what they will see is that whatever we are trying to sell them on, we know what we're talking about, or at least it seems that we know what we talk about, because we are just publishing, days after days about this specific topic. And so this makes a huge difference. If you have to pick and you don't know that much about a topic, someone that published every day in the last 3 months and who seemed to have some, good content versus someone who's invisible, you will be improving your conversion rates. And so this is one thing, but the other unintended effect is that sometimes when you manage to build your brand up to a certain point, you actually get to reach out to people who know you already. And so it was funny, like the first time this happened to us, but we'd reach out to people and they would say, oh, by the way, actually, I know you from LinkedIn. And so this is cool, because if they already know you, it means they've been following your content for some time. So they managed to build some trust with you. And this is another great addition. And I would say the last one is also inbound guides your outbound. So when you think of it, we publish a lot of different publications, and then you get some people across a large variety of industries with a wide range of offers that come to you and they say, hey guys, I want you to do this for my brand. They explain how the business works, and usually you never had thought of implementing outbound for these very specific kind of businesses. I think a few days ago I was talking with a company that's trying to sell some private jets through outbound. I never thought about selling private jets through outbound, but maybe we try it, maybe it works. And so what I find interesting is if you end up taking on these kind of projects and you realize that you get some great results, especially because results depend a lot on the offer and on the niche, then you can just say, okay, now I'm gonna find all the companies similar to this business, because I already know in advance that whenever I'm gonna use Smartly to send a bunch of emails, I will get some great results. And so I could talk, on and on about this, but I feel that the future of outbound is really mixing social selling with inbound plus outbound, because it just has so many advantages. And now we want to just continue with some of these plays.
I would also add like maybe a last one, and I think we have like many time where it ended up being the reason why we sign a client, and it's being top of mind for a specific topic. And I think when you do like content consistently, most of the market might not be like interested in your services right now. But I think if you're consistent and you keep just like printing that like ColdIQ is like sales tech, it's outbound, if in 2, 3, 4 months the person is actually finally in the market for a service, the connection is already installed. It's like, okay, I need like outbound services. I've seen those guys, they've been like all over LinkedIn. I don't need to spend time doing the research. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna reach out to them. And I think that being top of mind, I think that at the beginning of the agency, Mish had the situation when like one guy told him over a sales call, was like, I've been following you for 6 months. I've never interacted with anything, never dropped a like, never dropped a comment. But the guy kind of like respected the consistency and the hustle that Mish was just like printing content over and over for many months. And then suddenly when he needed someone to actually do outbound services, it was like, okay, you're the first person I reach out to. So I think there is a lot to gain from being consistent in content.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting because what you think when you publish content is that somehow you will publish a piece that will get a huge amount of impressions and then that will book a lot of meetings in your agenda. But it's actually like the constant exposure, being here every day. Because what happens is that most of your prospects or most of the people who see your content are not ready to buy today. They're not ready to talk with you today. But sometimes something could happen in their situation that will change this fact. And that means that if they remember you and you were here on that day when things changed, then you're the first person they think about. And so it's really that, this is the thing that people that create a lot of content know, is that it's this kind of constant exposure. You're not booking meetings because you had one post that went viral. You're booking meetings because people have been consistently seeing your publications and they think, okay, now I have to talk with this guy because it's the moment I need it.
And we see it now, like we launched kind of like an internal channel with the team where we're trying to incentivize everyone to be consistent with content. So we're doing like a content challenge where we'll just give some 1,000 euros in cash at the end of the quarter for the person that posted the most on LinkedIn. And we really saw a neat difference for like, I think in March, me and Mish were quite busy. We like started to skip a few days, and then starting April 1st, like we've been super consistent, like Monday, Friday, every single day we're posting, and we can see it in our calendars. Like there is like a neat correlation between how consistent we are with content and the amount of sales calls we have in our calendars. And sometimes it feels like it's like, okay, now everything is rolling, like the agency is like growing, but sometimes we need to kind of get back at like what made us successful in the first place. And we really see that when we are consistent and we do the work, like magic happens.
Love it. I oh sorry. Swapnil will take over. I had a question to ask what was asked in the comments, but all yours.
I was just gonna say that's the holy trifecta, right? Because not only are you ensuring top of mind awareness with content, but you're also giving back to the community that's following you, because they now know you not because of only your content, but also because of what has worked for your business and what's not, because that's the experimentation cycle that you're pushing out in your content as well, right? And you're just giving them more and more on top of that. It's just value on value. With that note, before Vaibhav asks this question, Vaibhav, a note for you. I hope you come up with a $1,000 challenge for us as well, so that we can start pushing content.
I'm game.
It was euros, so it should be even more in dollars actually.
If that's what it takes to get you all to post, that's done tomorrow morning.
Done. Okay.
Done tomorrow morning. All right.
Got this on record, by the way, Vaibhav. This is
yeah, tomorrow morning. I'm gonna make all of you attack. All right, tomorrow morning. Done.
Awesome. Yeah, over to you, Vaibhav. You were asking.
I had a question, which is actually a very like you guys. This is I know about cold emails and about agency work, but we'll get to that. But I think the way you've attacked LinkedIn and you've dominated it. I meant that in the post. Like you guys sort of stormed into it. No one knew what the hell was happening, and then boom, we're here now, and everyone knows ColdIQ, Michel and Alex, right? So some questions that were asked there. Can you maybe talk a bit about your creation strategy, your workflows, the tools? How do you consistently post out every day? How do you find new content to post at? What do you see work? You don't need to reveal all your secrets, but obviously please do. So what do you think is making sense right now?
Okay, I can start then. I would say it's probably a mix of the sales tech part and the websites and the agency. And I think to have like really good content idea, you need to actually have like interesting daily life. And so I think that's why we also want to stay involved in like the agency part of the business, because first it builds like it keeps us relevant, because I think it's very difficult to make like valuable content about outbound and like how to do cold email, how to do prospection, if we're completely out of it. Like if we were only doing the website and taking demos, like that would have no point because we wouldn't actually apply all those tools. And I think by running the agency, we almost force ourselves to still be very much involved in like the service delivery, how to write copy, which tool to use, because that's also what's like fueling most of our content. It's like most of the time is like, we have tested this and here is what happened. Here is what we tried over the last month, and here are like the 5 insights we got out of it. And so I think it's very difficult to have ideas for content if you're not really working on something. Like for me, most of the inspiration is like it's gonna sound very boring. I have like Apple Notes on my computer, and whenever I have like an idea that's popping up, I'm just like writing it down. I'm like, oh, here is a campaign that performed well. Here is a campaign that didn't perform well. Here is a demo I took from a new tool that I found interesting. Here is one demo that we got, and they had like a really nice AI feature. Let me make a post about this. So it's really my day to day where I'm like, whenever there is something that I find interesting, I just want to document it and share it with people I'm connected with on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think to add to what Alex says, it's really think about what would have helped you, just a few weeks ago, something you just uncovered that was a bit tricky to understand. And there is a high chance that a lot of people are in the same situation. And so I think that helps because one of the issues I see with most LinkedIn content is that it's not very practical. People try to optimize for the algorithm, what's fancy, what's cool. But at the end of the day, if you are consistently publishing things that people can just take and implement straight away, then you'll end up building a good following. And people think that they need to be experts on a topic to have something valuable to say, but that's not the case at all. Like if you understand just one thing that you didn't understand before, that means that someone who was in your very situation will benefit from it. I know it might be as simple as finding like a tool that lets you find lots of email addresses in a very easy way, explaining what was your problem. I had some problems because my tool was only finding 25% of these email addresses, and now I'm using some waterfall enrichment platforms, and because they have 6, 7, 8 tools within them, like full enrich, I'm able to find 75%, and there is a very high chance a lot of people are struggling. They're only finding 25% of the email addresses in their list, and if they knew that, they could just directly implement it, and it would be helpful for them. If you're helpful, in a very consistent way, it will pay off as long as you just keep with it.
That's well said.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, most of the people don't realize that the purpose of pushing content is to provide value. Right. People are just, I know this because coming from the agency and marketing space myself, it's a primary challenge for people to like beat the algorithm and understand how to get that there. But a core aspect of prospecting is to provide more value, because you've hit the nail right on the head. That's how people will know you, right? They'll know you because you're sharing value with them, right? And they'll keep you on the top of the mind, because the next time anybody wants to refer to something, oh, I read this post by Alex, right, which spoke about XYZ, and that's how I know this. So that's one point. Now, with respect to that and keeping that thought flowing, right? What are some of the trends that you folks are observing in the cold email space, right? Because as Alex mentioned, right, like if he finds some tool that he's interested in, or like, anything that is new for him, he just goes right ahead and shares it with LinkedIn. So keeping that in mind, what are some of the top trends that you folks are observing in the cold email space right now?
I would say like the biggest trend I'm seeing is there is a very high drop in deliverability across the board. I think this is one of the challenge. I mean, every week I'm talking to VPs of sales, explaining how they get 10%, 20% reply rates. And it just used to be that back in the day, I think 5, 6 years ago, you could just have a list, you would blast the list to everyone, and then somehow people would respond and you would get 70, 80% opened. Today, this doesn't work anymore. Like the people have been abusing this, which means that it's just very complicated to keep these high open rates. And to me, what I'm saying is that the specialized agencies are investing in 2 things. First thing being having a platform that lets them take care of all those deliverability aspects. So you need to make sure that everything is properly built, like your whole infrastructure, which usually means secondary domains, rotating inboxes, warm-up, and so on. And so I'm not saying this because we're on the Smart Lead webinar, but my personal conviction is that the most important thing you want to look for when you are looking at the cold email platform is one that lets you deliver on the main inbox. Like, because this is the biggest issue. If you're not delivering, then like nothing matters. So this is the first one. And I think Smart Lead is the best at that. There are a few that also try to be as good. Some might be coming close, but they are not there yet. And I would say that the second trend is really this aspect of relevance at scale. Now people are getting inundated with cold email outreach, which means that as soon as they see, I don't know, 1-2 sentences, they know that you are trying to pitch them, and they know that the message you are sending could have been sent to about just anyone else. And so it needs to start with them, but it really needs to be something where when they read the message, they think this has been sent to me and could have only been sent to me because if it had been sent to Alex, it wouldn't make any sense. And the way you would accomplish that would be to use some tools like Clay that lets you do some deep qualification, because Clay lets you scrape the website, lets you scrape the people profile, lets you look at what's happening within these companies. Are they hiring? What's the technology stack they have? Which new team members has been added? Are they running ads? All of this information. And so if you're able to take on this information and based some conclusions, so you build some hypotheses based on the observation you made, and you manage to make some conclusion that makes sense to the account you're reaching out to, then you'll have way better results than the usual set of outreach. And so nail down deliverability, nail down being relevant to whoever you reach out to, and you 5-10x the results you get.
And I would add maybe like a third one as well is also like, maybe more broadly speaking, like sales and then more precisely outbound is becoming like very technical. I think it used to be that like, sales was like a very accessible like job. Like a lot of people were like just starting their career in sales. And I think that now the market is getting more and more complex. And if you have like one clear power user, can pretty much like replace a team of like 5 average SDR. So I think you have really the tendency of like, it's getting more and more complex. You need to juggle with like a lot of different tools. You need to understand like, okay, what's an API key, and like running some enrichment and connecting data sources. Like it requires like much more technical skills. And I think there is like a really big transition that needs to happen, because sales used to be like a massive industry with like a lot of jobs. And I think that we are really transitioning slowly, where like things are getting like very technical. Like one type of tool where we get a lot of pitch for are like AI sales agents. And I think we are not there yet, but I think it's still not too far to have like the entire prospection that's fully automated. And we can almost already get there, right? Like we connect like a Trigify with Clay and Smart Leads. We can have campaigns that are running 24/7, doing pretty much the job of like what an SDR used to do manually like 4 years ago. And so now I think that's it's going to become very difficult for people that used to just do like prospects by hand and like do one-to-one communication to do that jump to being able to just like prospect at scale using like a set of technical tools.
Yeah, that said, what I find interesting with what Alex mentioned, this prospecting at hand, is that it's actually the best way to find out how you could scale your outreach. So if you think about what you would do if you had, unlimited time in the world to personalize your outreach, I think Jordan Crawford said that in all YouTube videos with Vibav, these ones were the best. So we should just sign a petition for Vibav to start these videos. But like the whole idea is, imagine you're looking at the prospect, you're looking at the account, looking at the person, and you think about all the ways you would want to personalize your outreach to make sure that people will reply. So it's like, if I see that the person has posted about, I don't know, AI automation, then I know they will be interested in whatever I sell. So it's like, this is really this whole idea of looking at what they do, looking at what they are talking about, looking at these initiatives. If you do this work by hand, you do it 5, 6, 7 times, then now you can start seeing some patterns in terms of all my best prospects they are going through this stage, or they have these elements within their accounts like that they are going through. And you can replicate this process with AI and with tools like Clay. Because what Clay will allow you to do is that at scale, it will allow you to look at if the company is running some sustainable initiatives and if they are hiring in some sustainable departments, and if, I don't know, their DMARC records are not properly set up, whatever it is that works for you, you will be able to replicate this and then make it work at scale. And I find like this to be like the best of both worlds. You keep, doing this manual outreach, knowing that at some point with the tools we have now, you'll be able to scale the approach.
It's related to the question you asked, Vaibhav, about the onboarding form. Like, I think we have 15 questions. And to me, the most important question that we ask is specifically what Mish just explained. So one of our question, it's something along the line of, if you had 15 minutes to research a prospect, what would you research about them? And usually the answer to that question kind of unlock all the research and account scoring that needs to happen on Clay. Like, if they provide a very extensive answer on this, we can do an amazing job with Clay, because we can just replicate what used to take 15 minutes per lead for a normal SDR. We can just do that at scale using Clay and different software.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that if you have an outbound agency, most of your clients know what they need to look for, but they believe that they cannot find the data. And so you really want to bridge the gap between those two. It's like the clients need to understand that if they are looking at, or if they want to look at the number of ads and how old were their ads and the number of job posting and which kind of job title were the company was recruiting, like they need, or you need to make them understand that they can find the data. Because if they let you know what's the data that's most interesting, and that means that the prospects will be interested, and you're able to go and research this data with Clay, for example, then you'll get some amazing results for your campaigns.
Got it. That. Nope.
Sorry.
Okay, go for it.
You want to go for it, Vaibhav?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
So, while we do, so just quickly recapping, right? First trend that people need to be jumping on and understanding carefully is personalization, right? Especially at scale, because that's what's going to set up. And as Michel rightly called it out, right? Like, everybody has been exposed to so many cold emails in this day and age that it's very easy for someone to figure out whenever they're being pitched to, right? So it's a matter of how can you make it more personalized along with their value and offer it to that particular person. And the second part of it is automating that process for yourself at scale, so that you can do that, like, for multiple people and ensure that you're driving the success back to you. But one core aspect that I wanted to touch upon, and any one of you can pick this question up. This is an open-ended question for you also, Vaibhav, is how do we write compelling copy, right? Because I remember Alex talking about these sales triggers, right? Like, even if I have the best of the best automations in the world, I've got the best tool stack, right? Something that cannot substitute like a person considering my business over another is the copy. It's the value that I provide, right? So what are some of those triggers, or let's say some of the templates, or some of I would say like some formats that you folks have explored which have worked best for you, right? If you could share that with us, and also let people know what those triggers are which get people to convert for you.
Alex, you want to go?
Maybe I can take the trigger part, and Mish can take the copy part, because he's the copy expert. For triggers, I think what has been working really well for us is typically tapping in your existing audience, or people that have already interacted with your content. I think one of the most successful campaigns we've ever run was actually working with one of our clients that has a quite famous podcast, and just reaching out to his followers on LinkedIn. Like, that sounds like a very obvious trigger, but I think sometimes people forget to actually reach out to people that have already been exposed to take content. And so now it's also something that a lot of agencies are doing and a lot of companies are doing, is whenever you post on LinkedIn, actually exporting all the people that interacted and actually reach out to those people, because it kind of transformed the cold outreach in already kind of like a lukewarm outreach. So that's one. The other one that like typically works quite well if when someone you know someone has joined in the last 2-3 months, typically that's when the budget is there. They might have a lot of competition, but I think if you can like send a message at that moment and you have something that's very relevant and you did your research, that's typically a very good moment to reach out to someone. And I think it really goes with the copy, because everyone is always talking about personalization. It's a kind of like the very like hot trends over the last few months. But I think, in my opinion, personalization is maybe 10% of the success of your outreach. Like being relevant and having a good offer will always trump being personalized. Like you can drop the most personalized email to me. If I'm just simply not interested in what you have to offer, like I'm not gonna buy from you anyway. And I always like to use the example. There is Mohammed, the CEO of Twain.ai. He reached out to me like a few months ago because he was looking for product advisor. So he just reached out to a bunch of people from LinkedIn and he used a templated email. So no personalization, even no first name, just like, hey, and then his offer. And the offer was pretty much explaining that he wanted to find product advisor and he would pay us a certain amount of money per for 2 hours of work per month. So it was like literally an email offering to give money, to give advice on a cool tech product. He sent 20 emails. He had like a 20 out of 20 positive answer rate, like a 100% positive answer rate. And I think that's the ultimate example that like, even with a template, if your offer is good, you don't need any personalization. I think it's kind of the cherry on top. But if you have a bad offer, all the personalization in the world won't help your success with outreach.
Yeah, and I think I see in the chat, Steph just wrote, give them something for free they are paying for currently. And so I would say everybody is focused on the copy, but you got those two aspects, right? You give value, you really give them something they wanted, and you do the proper research, and it just gets very, very easy. And so this is why I think people are, the misconception is that you need to just upskill in terms of copywriting. So how can you make my words flow in a way that's convincing and so on? But if you flip the approach and you think about, I know exactly why every person is in my list, and at the same time you give them something they want, then the way you write the copy doesn't matter that much. So to give you an example, imagine you've got people landing in spam and they're getting 5-10% open rates. Like they might be like super frustrated with the rates they get. So imagine you have the smart lead team reaching out to them and they notice some things on the prospects that means they are very likely to be in spam. So for example, some things that could tell you they are in spam would be the fact that they use one of the big sales engagement platform that doesn't make you land in the main folder. If you know them, you know them. But the whole thing is, some of these platforms are just, every time I talk with someone who's using one of the big sales engagement platforms, they will tell me their open rates, and I'm always like, okay, you need to just change tool. But imagine and you see all of the websites that don't have any DMARC record properly set up. And on top of that, the sales engagement platform they are using. And on top of that, that they have a large SDR team. Like the whole thing is those three elements combined means first that they're likely to be in spam. Second, it means that they're doing some outreach. So if they're doing some outreach and they have some bad results, then you can help them very easily. So if you come to them and you say, hey guys, I've talked with 5 companies that were using your platform, like the same platform you're using, and they were missing their DMARC records. And usually when I talk with them, they explain to me that they are not able to get 10% open rates or more. So what I did is I just compiled a guide that explained exactly how we'll help them go from 10 to 60%. Like, do you want this guide? Like, this is a no-brainer, right? Those people would want the guide because you are actually directly helping them solve one of the issues they have and one of the issues where they're spending some money on. And so here's that the thing is, because you targeted well and you provided some value, you will get some good results, and then it will also allow you to generate some trust. Because let's say they fix the issue on their own, then if you have something more to offer, they might be thinking, okay, this guy just helped me 6x my open rates. Maybe he has something interesting for me, which opens and paves the way for added services. So really try to think about what would be the first thing you would do if you're working for a client, for any industry. Like Steph said, something that they will be willing to pay. Offer to do that, offer to solve, like this initiative, and then people will want to talk with you.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Identify common problems in an industry, find common solutions people are paying for, give a segment of it for free, and that's it. The point that people tend to think over here is they need to give the whole thing free, which is not the goal. I think Michel, you mentioned it several times, which is it's a suck in, and then once you've absorbed them into your ecosphere, then you sell them and upsell them other features and other products. I actually just quickly want to share something. I think quick shout out to Mo. He was talking about this on SYC, and he basically spoke about how he's built an ecosphere, which is he has clients. For clients, he does some deliverability work. He gives them access to mailboxes. He then also provides his clients with SDRs. So he's generated demand for his customers. He's given them more leads than the customer can manage. Then he's gone to them saying, you now have a new problem that is a very good problem for you to have that I've introduced for you, right? Because I'm giving you more leads than you asked for. Do you want an SDR to help solve for that problem? And then soon he'll give them an SDR. And then from that, he's going to go ahead and sell them a CRM, saying, you've got all these SDRs now, you're using this crappy whatever, why don't you use our CRM? So his top side, which is maybe giving the leads for free or whatever it might be, is very much easily offset with the SDRs that he's selling, as well as the CRM. So that is the business model. So to on point with what Mish said, is it's give stuff for free, but don't just throw your business and be like, why am I not making money? You need to have a proper plan in place over here to help you guys out. I mean, if you don't mind just taking a quick second without decrypting the ColdIQ business model, it almost feels like you guys give a bunch of free knowledge on how to use tools, but since you clearly all know how to use these tools so well, we are sort of stuck to come to you and ask you advice on how to build this up, because we have no clue, right? So we're kind of stuck over here, and that's how you suck it in. So people are like, oh yeah, these guys are giving all this cool shit for free. How do they make money? Well, you depend on them now. There's no way you can leave. So you're living proof. Yeah.
Also, I think that people are afraid to give too much, but the people that will have the budget to pay you don't have the time to just implement your advice. Imagine you are posting every day about cold email, and you have the CEO of 100+ organization. Person is too busy running this organization to just listen to your advice and copy paste whatever you are doing. So like the people copy pasting what you are talking about will be maybe your competition or smaller companies who don't have the budget. But these companies, these people are already unqualified. And the ones that don't have the time to implement will be the one that we want to say, okay, let me pay these guys because I just don't have the time to figure it out, but I can see that they know their shit. And so this is the whole idea. So don't be too generous. Maybe like you shouldn't share all your secrets, but you can be generous up to a very large point without compromising your business.
Cool. Software, I actually want to use this. Do you have anything to jump in over here?
No, actually, I was just going to cover this last pointer, which was people don't realize. For most of the people that are in this game, it's a matter of perceived value, right? That's exactly what Michel was talking about. Your perceived value when time invested is more versus when money invested is more, right? Because people would not want to lose out time on setting up an infrastructure, on setting up systems, right? Only for that to not work for them. They'd rather lose out on, like, let's say $30, $40, but they'd rather not lose out on time. And that's exactly what Michel is talking about. Your offer has to be so good that people are worried about losing out on that time. And they know that instead of losing out on that time, they could just hire you or your service or your business, right? And that's where the real value comes back to you, right? Because then you can keep on compounding on top of it. But in the essence of time, Weber, I think you had one last thing to add because
no, it's all good. We're running short on time. We'll probably just take like a spotlight question and then
since we're rolling over on time, we'll entertain 5 questions. What I'll also do for all the good folks here is
can I just sorry one. I know Michel, Alex, we're running way over time. Do you guys have time for 5 questions or should we drop that? Yeah,
let's do it.
Okay, sweet. We'll do it. Easy. Awesome.
So folks, just quickly, we'll entertain 5 questions. For all those who still have questions and want them answered, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a thread on Slack where you can ask Michel and Alex the questions and they will answer it for you, right? So without further ado, as you know, please raise your hands, switch on your videos, and I'll spotlight you so that you can ask your question. We've got Andy. Just give me a minute, Andy. I am just going to change the settings so that I can help people unmute themselves as well. Just give me a minute. Yep, Andy, go for it.
Hey guys, thank you very much for this awesome presentation. I just quickly want to ask about Clay, like how you guys deal with inaccuracies that sometimes Clay delivers, and maybe what is the best place to learn all of the ins and outs for a newbie.
Yeah, I think one very easy fix is like using the formula. So you have like that formula feature inside of Clay, where you're never gonna be 100% happy with the final outputs if you use AI. So for example, if you like prompt something to generate like the one part of a sentence, sometimes the AI might generate something like the final answer is, and then you're gonna have the snippet of the sentence. And so inside of Clay, you can actually set up a formula where you only want to take the output that starts by the words you want. And so if the sentence doesn't follow the same format, you actually make sure that it doesn't get injected in your email sequence. So I would really use the formula feature.
Awesome, thank you.
Love it.
We've got Jimmy next. Jimmy, please go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Hi guys. So just wondering, like, how do you help your clients bridge the gap between a positive response came in and what to do with the lead then?
This one is the biggest challenge we have, because this is usually where we do the handoff, because you need to stop at some point. And so usually what we do is that we automatically forward every positive reply from Smartly to a Slack channel, so that the client has access to all the positive reply and they don't need to go through every reply, because we have people internal of our team that will be skimming through all the replies and just categorize them with the filters. So usually a positive reply would be someone requesting more information, someone saying I'm interested, or someone asking for a meeting straight away. And then usually we'll also build the same automation to send the data to their CRM, whether it's HubSpot or any of these other. And so usually we'll give them some SOP, we want them to reply fast, and we just advise them to not send a calendar link, and then we advise them to follow up a few times, because it does happen that sometimes a lead says, I'm interested, but then they do something else, they forgot, any other thing. But I'd say like these would be the main ones. And I think for this, we could be doing a better job at that. I don't know, Alex, if you think so, or, yeah.
I agree. I think that's like the next step. Like right now, we're kind of like specialized in generating opportunities, but I think we could probably help the clients to have like a better conversion rate from like opportunity generated to an actual meeting. Because I think timing is so important. And typically the clients might add like 1, 2, max 3 people from their team to the Slack channel. And sometimes they might check it like once a day. And everyone knows that like to actually book a meeting, like timing is super important. So probably the next service we would offer, if you want to kind of offer a more complete offer, would also kind of offer the appointment setting. The only tricky part with that is that most of the time, leads are actually asking more questions, right? They don't want to book a meeting directly. They might have like, hey, thanks for that, sounds interesting. What about X? And then they ask a question. And so to do the appointment setting, I think that on our end, we need to have a really good understanding of like the service and the products of the clients to be able to answer those questions. But I think that's the obvious next step for us. Once once the team is big enough, I think we'd probably offer that as an extra service.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're quickly going to move on to the next. Ravi.
Hi, thanks guys. So thanks for all the information. I had just one question. Like obviously we run cold email campaigns. I was gonna ask like if you guys had any ideas on a management tool compared to like Google Workspaces on managing email accounts specifically, because we have a lot of emails and we're running out of issues in terms of managing all those email accounts. So and the cost of it obviously also.
Do you ask more like in terms of creating those mailboxes, or just like keeping track of how many mailboxes you manage?
Keeping track of all those inboxes, because logging into all of them, the team finds it's a bit more difficult, I would think. So we send
yeah,
using all those.
for that we actually work with like an external provider. So we have like one company we work with that's actually like setting up the mailboxes for us and actually connects the mailboxes to a smart lead account. So on our end, it's quite straightforward because it's something that takes a lot of time. I kind of agree with you. So we just prefer to outsource it.
Got it. Okay.
Thanks, Ravi.
Yeah, that was the question.
We have time for just two more questions. So moving on to the next one, which is Javier. Javier, go for it, man.
Thanks, Robin. Hey, Mitch. Hey, Alex. Great to meet you guys. Thanks for all that content that you guys are doing. Really amazing stuff. I loved what you mentioned around the workflow creation and sharing that free content. And there's a segment of people that can't access that content, but they're unqualified. Through all of this process, what do you feel is the most challenging aspect of the creation? Is it, it takes too much effort to go on LinkedIn and, reply to everybody? Is it maybe that you're missing some leads, that fall through the cracks? Is it maybe that you feel you could monetize, a segment of the people that have a lower budget more and they're not monetized? Just would love to hear your impression around that perspective and that process.
The question is the biggest challenge when it comes to creating workflows within content? Is the question?
Regarding the sharing of the workflow, so the creating and the sharing of the workflows, is it that you feel that you could be monetizing better the leads? Is it that it sometimes takes too much to deliver the links, etc.? Just what was takes more of your time, complained, lost revenue?
I mean, I think the issue with LinkedIn is that you publish something and then 48, 72 hours after it stops showing. And so you need to resurface your best post. And it's different to YouTube in the sense that with YouTube, you can, continually get views on your videos. And so I would say like it's really dependent on platforms. And yeah, sometimes it's a shame because, it could be interesting for LinkedIn to just keep pushing the publications that, are good, because some are just continually good, even though they are 6 months old.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks,
Alex,
Javier.
your side.
Javier, what did you ask?
Sorry, I was just saying if you had anything from your side, but I don't want to take more time.
He was
I cannot
basically
agree with
asking.
Mish.
Okay, you'll agree with Mish. Cool, awesome. We'll take one last question from Bryce, and we'll call it a day right after that.
All right, cool. I mean, I had one of the questions I was going to start with had to do with pricing on clients, because but it looks like Swapnil kind of answered that a little bit, but I do still have that to some degree. Like I've got clients that want to send 100,000 emails a day. I've got clients who want to send 5,000 emails a day. And there's so much difference and variance in between where it's like, how do I craft an offer that's going to be compelling at the same time, not something where they feel like all the lead gen is being done behind a curtain and they just have to without giving, I almost feel like the way I've been doing it is I've been building out smart lead platforms in their name and charging consultancy, and then otherwise putting everything on their card except for my fee and my VA's costs, and just being like, hey, it's all right there. If we ever disconnect, we're not together anymore, then fine, you have everything, and then just taking a consulting fee. But I'm curious how you would do that if you had such a large scope of potential clients.
I think it really depends on the stage of your agency. Like typically when you start and you have like no credibility, you want to have like a pay-per-lead approach where you only get paid if you generate results. I think that's the easiest way to get started, and then you should try to get case studies as fast as possible. And then typically in the history of an agency, then you transition from pay-per-leads to a retainer. And then actually some big agencies, I know that Nick Abraham, for example, you kind of transition back to a pay-per-lead model. So it's kind of like pay-per-leads, retainer, and then again pay-per-leads. On our end, we are still working with a retainer, but I think for your question, what's very interesting, it's not always possible, but it's to do value-based pricing. So if you can have like a good understanding of like how much a closed deal is for your clients, then you can try to assess how you could price your service. Because at the end of the day, like in business, you just need to generate a positive return on investment for the client. So as long as they make money and they make more money than you cost, they're very happy to pay you. And so that's what sometimes a bit difficult, is just having like a good estimate of how much money you can bring them. And then I would just price myself to make sure that they have like a very neat profit on the cost of your service. I know it's not like a straight number, but I think once you start dealing with more custom projects, that's probably the best way to price things. It's just like, let's try to understand how much money I can make them earn, and then I'm going to try to price myself lower than this, and so everyone is happier.
Okay, so find out their cost per acquisition, and depending on how much of that you handle, you price accordingly. Okay, I can see that. That makes sense. Great. My other questions I'll ask in the other, it has to do with onboarding and stuff, so I'll ask that in the chat or whatever.
Thank you so much, Bryce. And folks, that's our session for today. Thank you so much for joining. A huge shout out to Alex and Michel. Thank you so much for making this session super insightful. And we'll hit you up with another session of Office Hours next week. See you next Thursday.
Gang.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.